Reddit is often called the front page of the internet. It's got a little bit of everything. Between gigabytes of pictures of cats lies a community called the Reddit Bureau of Investigation, a board dedicated to busting open cold cases. Well, today we're going to take a look at some of those cases at 5 horrifying crimes solved by Reddit. My little ghouls and goblins, let me know down below in the comments which one of these stories shocked you. Now let's dive on in. Number 5. Hit and run. A hit and run is probably in the top 5 lamest things that can happen to you. Simpsons Hit and Run, however, fantastic. Someone hits your car and then doesn't have the decency to pull over and check in on what's wrong. Even more frustrating is to know that you'll probably never get to find out who did it unless you have the army of the internet on your side. A Reddit user named Meatheaded had experienced a hit and run and, frustrated and at a loss, turned to Reddit to try and find some answers with what little evidence he had to offer. When he posted a picture of a broken headlight to r/whatisthissthing, he probably didn't expect as much of a response as he got, as it was kind of an odd question. But some 400 comments later, and Redditors had managed to accurately find the model of the car down to the make, model, and year, and all of this just off of a bit of broken plastic and glass. Meatheaded then took the information and ran it through a database and found a 91 gray Cadillac that had been reported stolen. Meatheaded sent the data over to the traffic crimes unit of his local police department and were able to corroborate the data to track down the missing car and the suspect. Again, all just on a blurry photo of a broken headlight, which is downright incredible. Not only did they manage to find the car, but they also managed to connect it to a theft, busting 2 crimes with 1 post. Most Reddit posts don't get nearly that lucky. At most, you're getting a few upvotes, not solving a crime. And if you've got a love for scary videos, my friends, let us know. Subscribe to catch more of them every day, twice a day. Let's keep going. Number 4. Phone scam. Now, not every crime has to be a grim one. Sometimes it's as simple as helping somebody get out of a scam. In 2019, an anonymous Redditor posted a complaint to the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit, complaining that he had been scammed while trying to sell his phone privately. The Redditor had been in a bad situation, in dire straits, needed some quick cash, and was selling off an old phone to someone he'd met on a local listing site like Craigslist. He met the customer, who asked to meet late at night. Not thinking too much of it, the Redditor obliged, only to have his phone swiped quickly, and when he noticed the money he'd been given, he noticed that it was all counterfeit bills. Frustrated and scammed, he was helpless with no idea what to do. A Redditor reached out to the original poster and helped them track the number that he was given to contact the scammer. They searched through and found that it belonged to a 75-year-old man who didn't quite add up. So they did some more digging, and they found that the man who owned the phone number had one relative who happened to share a name with the scammer. Through more digging, the OP and Reddit discovered that the man had been arrested previously and had a suspended driver's license. Kind of amusingly, the original poster went back to the police with all this new information and discovered that the detectives had copied down the numbers of the scammer down completely wrong, so they were never going to be any help at all. 2 days later, they called him into the station to look at a lineup, and they'd found the phone scammer. His grandfather had been paying it off, and the relative he'd been looking into was the scammer's father. The detectives thanked him for his time, and they charged him with criminal fraud with the intent to deceive. The OP got it solved, he got the phone back, and the scammer got charged. And you got to hear about this story in this lovely video. So, win, win, win. Number 3. Hit and run again. In August of 2018, a woman went out for a bike ride and tragically was struck fatally during a hit and run accident. There was nothing to tie a perpetrator to the scene, no cameras, no footage, no security footage. The only evidence that the police had found was a small black fragment of the vehicle that had struck the bicycle, but it looked indescribable. Not knowing what else to do, Washington State troopers tweeted out a picture of the fragment in a desperate attempt that maybe the internet's collective hive mind might be able to help them identify anything since, well, they were plumb out of ideas. The post eventually made its way to Reddit, posting to r/whatisthissthing, and we know from a couple minutes earlier in this video that r/whatisthissthing is really good at identifying random car parts left behind at the scenes of hit and runs. Well, lo and behold, the Reddit intelligence once again took care of the impossible, and within a while, the unlikely hero named Jeff's Nuts posted that it was part of a headlamp of an '88 Chevy Silverado. The Redditor clarified that he was a Maryland state inspector for years, and part of each of his inspection process was a mandatory headlamp adjustment. So he explained that he has seen a lot of headlamps in his time and immediately recognized what part of the car it should have belonged to. With this tip in hand, it was only a few days later, on August 14th, 2018, where the state troopers tweeted out that they were able to make an arrest after Reddit users identified the broken car part, leading them to the driver, who was swiftly apprehended. The driver had been driving very tired, allegedly, and didn't look back after he'd hit someone because he didn't want to see a body. Not really a great excuse. He was sentenced to 4 years. It may not provide all the closure for the family, but thanks to the help of some Reddit detectives, the case was able to be closed and some justice was able to be served. Number 2. Jane Doe. In 2014, Reddit user CallMeIce shared a story about an unidentified set of bones lying in a cemetery in Strongsville, Ohio. The user was researching another cold case at the time, amusingly, and was searching for genealogy records and came across the unidentified skeleton and became very intrigued by the mystery. Why was there never an effort in over 40 years to make an identification as to who these bones belong to? Wishing to right a wrong, CallMeIce posted to r/unresolved mysteries in the hopes of getting some resolved mysteries. The Strongsville Jane Doe, as she was known, was first found in 1975 by 3 boys who were exploring a nearby forest. They found a skeleton lying on a sandbar, mostly intact, but missing some of its jaw. Naturally, the bones were reported, and it was thought to belong to a woman estimated aged 18 to 25, who had suffered a fatal gunshot approximately 5 months before being discovered. Detectives at the time checked her across several missing women cases, but were unable to make any connections or draw up any significant evidence, and the trail went completely cold for decades. Until 2014, when CallMeIce started to look into it. CallMeIce got in touch with the cemetery and managed to get access to the original autopsy files and a photo of the skull. She sent it over to a digital reconstruction artist, who then made up a mock-up. Now, nothing too much happened for a while, until in 2016, the forensic artist who had done the reconstruction came across a listing on the NamUs website, that's the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, of a woman named Linda Pagano, who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances around 1974. She'd come home from a concert and gotten into an argument with her stepfather and supposedly left to go visit her mother, where she was never seen again after. The forensic artist then contacted the medical examiner's office and pulled Linda's dental records, and wouldn't you know it, she matched the Strongsville Jane Doe to Linda Pagano. Although the identity of the attacker was never found, the family was able to find the smallest closure in finally knowing what happened to Linda Pagano, and it never would have happened without a Redditor bringing it back up. Number 1. The Grateful Doe. One of the more notable examples of Reddit solving a cold case was a 20-year mystery as to identify the body recovered from a car crash that was too damaged to be identified. In 1995, a Volkswagen van was found crashed into the trees off of a highway in Virginia. The driver was able to be identified, but his passenger unfortunately wasn't. A pair of Grateful Dead tickets in his pocket led to him being dubbed the Grateful Doe as a pseudonym. For 20 tragic years, the man was never identified, and the case was completely cold, with nary so much as a link. Until a Redditor caught wind of the case and was intrigued by it and opened it back up herself. The user then made a subreddit specifically for this case called r/Grateful Doe, and suddenly there was all this renewed interest from the greater collective of people working pro bono to try and find any connections they could. Digital reconstructions of the face, composite sketches, all this. Eventually, this caught the attention of someone who was sent an image of one of the composite sketches and said that it looked identical to his old roommate. After getting in contact with the roommate, he pointed the subreddit into the right direction, saying that the Grateful Doe's name, he thought, was Jason Callahan. Reddit then tracked down Shannon Callahan, Jason's half-sister, who upon seeing the composite sketch was moved and offered to take a DNA test. The DNA test confirmed everyone's hypothesis, and after 2 decades, an ice-cold case with absolutely no leads was able to be closed, and Jason's family finally got a little bit of relief to know what happened to their missing relative. The subreddit Grateful Doe is still active and now serves as a hub for several other cold missing cases, with others frequently being solved every day. And that's all for this video, my friends. If you want more scary content, I'll see you in the next one.